Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with my co-host Tree McDougal and Tim Turner. Hope everybody's having a great week. Uh, it's been a minute, guys, but it's good to see everybody. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and I know there's a lot of excitement. There's still football in the air, Tim.
Yes, there is. I'm looking for
Yes,
it.
You're gonna get it.
I'm coming
we
Starting
down.
see it. We see it.
starting Thursday, first full week of
Okay.
NCAA football is here. What's going on? Talk to me, guys.
Oh, and number one, I want to, uh, although it's just like, we have this little intimate gathering this evening, we still have to think about the people that'll be in the path of Adelia. And I think that Miss McDougal, Ogletree McDougal, she is right in the midst of it there in Savannah, as it'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I mean, it's going to be a hurricane when it reaches the Georgia-Florida line, when it's going to be over by Valdosta, Georgia, which they don't really get a whole lot over there. But it's going to be interesting. The people up there on the west coast of Florida, southeast Georgia, up into the Carolinas, batten down the hatches. It's even affected here. I mean, it's breezy tonight, and the clouds are coming in the direction from the opposite direction. So it's going to be a little bit of a taste of that, but nothing nearly is what they're going to have down that way with Tree.
So, do you have room for us if we have to evacuate?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. We're
Right
good. We got our bags already packed, so if we have to go, we're ready.
there. It's right here.
Now, Tim, you lived in Florida. You lived in Orlando,
Yes, sir.
which is kind of inland. Did you ever have any
Uh,
time when you were thinking about packing your bags during your time there?
that first year there, because the first year I lived in Orlando, they had 5 storms go across the state. Two, two of them were hurricanes, and one of them, the eye came right over the house. And I was like, yeah, I'm not staying here for any length of time. So yeah, when the storm was over, I was trying to figure out what the deal was with this bush in the side of the house that I had not seen before, and that was a tree that had gotten snapped off during the hurricane. So
Mm.
uh, yeah, there was nothing to play with. You having your house groan for several hours from one direction, and then be quiet for like 15 minutes, and then groan for the groan from the wind blowing from another direction for about an hour. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah, I lived in New Orleans. I was down there from '95 to '96 with my family, and the folks in NOLA, man, when we would get those warnings, that was just a reason for them to party. This was pre Katrina, of course,
Yeah,
Mm.
but I'm like, we're packing our bags and heading to Nashville. I am not uh, messing around. And anytime we there were some threats, we got out of town back then. But Tree, what about you down in Savannah? What's you guys' experience?
Well, when I moved here, I always say I came to Savannah in a hurricane 4 years ago, but I hadn't gotten here yet. They actually told me to stay back. Um, so it's been pretty calm all this time since I've been here. So we've got bags packed and go bags and clothes and meds. So I've never experienced it. Tim is kind of scaring me now, but
oh, you'll be fine. You'll be
oh,
fine.
okay, we're fine. Yeah. So I looked at my husband today. I was like, "So do you want to go? Do you want to stay?" He said, "No, I'm good." So we'll see. We've got a plan in place.
All right, as long as you got a plan. But
There's no partying that I'm aware of. I was looking at the Weather Channel and they were on River Street, looked pretty calm. People just kind of milling around. So yeah.
this is going to be our new normal, guys.
Yeah,
Uh,
stronger storms. You know,
Mhm.
they were talking about how these hurricanes generally when they come up in the Gulf or whatever, they churn up water, cool water, deadens them. It takes some of the steam out of them. But because it's been so hot, the depth of water, even when they turn up the water, they're turning up hot water as opposed to cold water underneath it. So all it's doing is providing more fuel for these storms. And so there's going to be always these major things that hit our coast. And you mentioned Katrina. Today's is the exact 18th anniversary of it hitting New Orleans. So it brings back a lot of memories of just the days leading up to it. It was it's really interesting that you mentioned that, Rick.
That and we're gonna get on to some sports stuff, but the one thing that always tripped me out when I lived there, you walk down by the French Market and everything, and the Mississippi is circling around downtown, and you look up to see the Mississippi.
Right. And you're looking up.
Things are looking up.
Have you seen the Mississippi, or is that football in the air? Football in the air, but anyway, because
you guys still there?
Yeah, there you go. You're back now. There are levees all over the place, and people always are saying New Orleans is in a bowl. All it's going to take is one storm, and they were saying that for years. I moved down there in Mississippi in '85. It was down there for 5 years, and they kept saying, when the big one comes, there's no way we're going to survive it. And I just thought the game
was New Orleans. Out, lock the door,
right?
Turn off the lights.
Wow.
Hey, but let's get to some football, man. I'm looking forward to the weekend, Labor Day weekend, start of college football, and it actually kicked off last week when Jackson State and South Carolina did battle in the MEAC SWAC.
The 2023
Did they do battle? Really? Did they do battle?
Well, Jackson State did.
Yes.
T.C. Taylor, man.
Oh gosh, he had them playing.
Yeah, and Coach Pugh said this is a physically tougher team than the Jackson State team under the previous coach, Deion Sanders. But 37-7. I think they had about 25,000 on hand, and national TV. Hey man, great way to start the year.
Which I give him a lot of credit because man, it was the heat index in Atlanta was like over 100 on last Saturday. So people that came out, congrats to you.
Were they at Georgia Tech?
No, they were over Georgia State Stadium. It used to be Turner Field, the Braves baseball stadium. Yeah. Georgia State bought it, turned it into their football stadium. That's where they played.
And brutal weather, right? You said?
Pardon me?
Brutal weather.
Absolutely. To be on that turf, even down there, those kids had to be really, really breaking a sweat or two there. So, but Jackson State seemed like they were totally prepared for it. They were ready for it. SC State did not look as sharp as they have in the past. I know J State people will talk about vindication or something like that. I think they lost to them big. It was last year, the year before last, in Atlanta. Last year. But it's not. It's a different team, different head coach, different everything. So hats off to Jackson State for continuing this and showing that the program is on its way back and not just having the coach for the last 3 years be there.
Yeah, and one thing about South Carolina State, Coach Pugh is not going to stand for this either.
Oh no!
So he will straighten that out. Whatever they have, he will get the most out of it, man. But it's really good to see Jackson State playing at the level they have the last few years because, of HBCU schools, they're definitely would be considered one of the blue bloods.
Absolutely. But you said talk about South Carolina State, they're going to try to fix some things. We'll see next week. They're at Charlotte this Saturday. So they may start out 0-2 if they don't tighten things up. I mean, it's just a full slate of just a ton of games, great games that are going to be out there for this week coming up.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of those, Tim.
Well, see, Thursday, this is the money game week, first 2 weeks of the season, essentially. So people go get these checks, and the one I think we highlighted was Tennessee State's playing at Notre Dame, and TSU got paid $1 million to go up to South Bend, and for the experience. And we just hope it's worth it. But then too, this is the Deion effect, the Deion Sanders effect, because before those cats were only getting like $300,000, $250,000
Right.
to play these games, and Deion said, "Oh, that's chump change. We're not doing that." So now here's a total beneficiary. Tennessee State's getting $1 million to go
But
get.
Tim, you've been kind of critical of those teams going just for the money. So,
Well, I'm critical of the teams because I have to be critical of the schools. If alumni and boosters gave back to the schools at the level they need to give back to the schools for what the schools have done for them, they would need to go play these games, and take these huge checks with a very real risk of a player or two or three or several getting broken up by guys that are twice and three times their size.
but do you think that message is clear to alums? The reason, I mean, they hear give all the time, right? And so what makes, is it more specific to give so that these players don't have to go chase the money? Is it in the messaging? I mean, typically they don't give anyway, right?
We just don't give. Right.
Not that they don't. Maybe at the level that's needed. Not everybody's giving.
At Morehouse, they give you an option. Do you want to give to the school? Do you want to give the athletic department? I give money to the athletic department. So, I mean, you can give what you want to give, because that's where my monies go, because I know they're trying to get them to compete on or be more on a more solid footing, because it's just it's not the cash cow that it is other places. HBCU sports, maybe Grambling's different because they had the name. I don't think anybody has that kind of cachet anymore outside of J State. But I think these conferences have been elevated with these HBCU Go. I think that's one network that has Saturday games, and you have ESPN doing a lot of streaming of HBCU games, and so that helps with the brand. But there's nobody that really has, it's not like you say Alabama or Penn State and folks take notice.
Right, but I guess I would say if everybody's given to athletics so that they don't have to play these games to get money, then what happens to the other part that they give?
The reason they go into school, what happens to that?
Yeah, that piece of it.
But people don't give to that level to athletics. They will always give. There are more people who are non-athletes than athletes. I'm going from a perspective of a person who was an athlete and knowing where the need is, because when these schools are getting not Melinda Gates, but when Bezos's former wife drops, $10 million at Morehouse, you can bet athletic department is not smelling that that $10 million.
But basically, I think do you think maybe then it's more messaging of give here for this, give here for that, not to belabor the conversation on that, but just to maybe some messaging.
I think the marketing department and the sports information departments need to get together and find a way to holistically message everything about the university, because I think a lot of times the athletics get short shrift because really there's only a couple of things that pay money: basketball and football, and nothing else. So people don't pay attention to it.
And they probably want unrestricted funds so that they can.
And Tim, you are absolutely right. As HBC the HBC alumni has not done its job in giving back. I'm a Virginia Union alum. I do give. I don't give probably what I should, but I do give. But at some of these state schools, it would be nice if the state would hold up its bargains with the school. Right now, TSU, Tennessee State University, is owed $500 million by the state of Tennessee. Pay them their money, then they don't have to go to South Bend.
Right.
Give them that $500 million. Then they don't have to go to South Bend. Then they can revamp Hell Stadium, where they're still playing some games, and maybe build a 21st century stadium, and not have to go out to the Titan Stadium and play, where they'll have 25,000 people and it'll look like 150.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a terrible look, Tim.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, you can tell when these games have low attendance is when that camera is tight on the field. I want you to see the crowd, because there is no crowd or how it looks.
Yeah. Give them that 500. Tim, Hell Stadium is in no better condition today than when you were covering Jackson State there 30 years ago. I mean, seriously.
And it wasn't in good shape then.
Shameful.
I can just imagine what it is, what the facilities look like. And
if they could get through the game without the damn goalpost falling down, it's almost like a victory.
Absolutely.
You get a good win come through there, the whole press box might come down. But it is a necessary evil, and I hate when they have to do it, because it always gets ugly. Arkansas Pine Bluff is going to play Tulsa.
Right.
I don't know what they're getting. It's a couple of more. Alabama A&M is at Vanderbilt.
Alcorn's playing in Southern Miss. Those schools are like 2.5 hours apart. And see, the thing about I have a great affinity for Southern Mississippi. They call these schools the Big Three in Mississippi: Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss. Ole Miss and Mississippi State have for years thought they were too good to play the HBCU schools there in the state, with Jackson State, Valley, and Alcorn. Southern Miss hasn't had a problem in scheduling HBCU schools in the state. They don't feel like they're a threat to recruiting or anything like that. Whereas, who are Ole Miss and State, and to stub their nose at anybody. So I think State has played Alcorn over the past couple of years, but before that was just unheard of. I've seen Jackson State play them in basketball, but never in football. And so I give kudos to those guys for doing that. Yeah, but you don't have those games right there are not as plentiful as they had been in the past, where it seemed like this first week, you have Valley going out to Oklahoma, getting drilled. It's like 50-something, and then they have a running clock. And I harken back to the kid when Southern played at Georgia.
Yeah,
he got paralyzed on a kickoff. But is it worth the money?
Yeah,
they got the check, but this kid's life has been changed forever.
I tell you, it's a necessary evil. Morgan State will be going down to play University of Richmond. They are I mean, in football, they're probably FCA or 1AA, as we used to call them. High level, I think they're Division I now in football. But I mean, you got to have these things when at the state schools where the state is not honoring its commitment, and as alumni, we aren't doing our part to fund the programs, because a lot of schools you can just earmark your donation where you want your money to go.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and see what happens in this first couple of weeks of the season. You get up there as an alum, or somebody like me is like, yeah, well, they don't count. Wait till we get in the conference when it's more to our competition. But that shouldn't be the case. You should want to win every week and compete against everybody. You have those rarities where, like, when Howard went out to UNLV and beat those guys. And Jackson State had, I think, Louisiana, Monroe on the ropes. And none of these moral victories by scoring points. I mean, there's nothing to that. But it's good to see. What's that?
I was just going to mention Tennessee State had Vandy beat a couple years ago, fourth quarter. They just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Their jet caught up with them.
Yeah, so and that's always going to be the case with the HBCUs, and you look at those games and you go, okay, so that we got that out of the way. That's the toughest competition you're going to play until you get to the playoffs, which will be some higher end FCS schools or higher end Division II schools. We generally get bounced in the first round of the playoffs because of the caliber of play through the year. You run up these huge numbers against your conference, and you get smoked in the playoffs. You just, it's like a donut effect. You just enjoy it, enjoy the season, enjoy homecoming, but it's going to come to an abrupt end late in the year. But you start off though with some of these good matchups where you have Prairie View is really strong, and Texas Southern strong, and they had the Labor Day Classic back there in Houston, and it's been a while since they had that. But you still have these other classes where people are going out of there. These matchups, sometimes they don't make sense to me. Maybe they have a large alumni following. I think the Chicago Football Classic at Soldier Field has sort of a good times feel to it because it's got, everybody in Mississippi got some relatives in Chicago. So it's up taking to the Highway 55 North. So, I'm quite sure that, the Evans family probably be sitting up there front and center watching that game. But Valley playing at Central State, it's not too far from Wilberforce isn't too far a drive from Chicago.
But
yeah, go ahead.
But I think the classics have one thing too, with the drop in the level of play. What was the Circle City Classic?
Oh my God,
I mean, that was 50,000-60,000, right?
It's so the Hoosier Dome was sold out. The 2 years I was there, Jackson State played Bethune one year, and they played FAM one year, and both times it was sold out. That weekend was huge. You had BET was there to do the games. You had video sold. Donnie Simpson the night before doing his broadcast live from Indy. I mean, it was banging. And
what year was that, Tim? Were those the years I didn't have BET?
It probably was. It was 86, 87 of those years. Was happening in those deals. And you make me think about that with the BET and the Saturday games, and want to bring up Lem Barney. Because he and Charlie Neal were the broadcasters on those games, and I understand Lem's in poor health right now.
Yeah, it was a big story in the Detroit News citing Lem's issues and some family squabbles over his care. He's back in Texas now as the family goes back and forth fighting to see who's going to get the money and who's going to be taking care of him. But the thing is, I've been fortunate enough to know this guy the past 30 years and just a true class act. And his nickname when he played was the Supernatural Tree because he was such a phenomenal athlete. And he was. I am convinced that if Lem Barney would have played golf when he was a young man, he would have been Tiger Woods back then. He was that good of a golfer, never had a lesson. He just, hey, man, you just get up and hit it. I'm like, Lem, it's not that easy. Well, it is for me. It is for me. But man, I just wish Lem well, and I hope they can get all that worked out. Hall of Fame player, number 20. Number 20 has been good to the Detroit Lions over the years.
Oh, I would think so. I think the last guy who was there was another 20 that played pretty well. He used to carry the football for him, and then he just kind of quit. But
it was another 20 before that.
Oh yeah.
You remember that 20 from Oklahoma?
Oh yeah. My goodness, Billy Sims.
Sims.
I'm almost forgetting them. I mean, this is the outstanding ball players.
Yeah.
Billy Sims. That number.
Lem Barney, Billy Sims, and Barry Sanders.
In
Detroit. So we wish we definitely send our best wishes out to Lem. Hey, another Bethune-Cookman, man. They had a lot of controversy finding a new coach. The whole thing with Ed Reed was just
Yeah.
looked bad for the university. They're going down to Memphis to play.
Mhm.
Memphis has really upgraded their program,
Absolutely.
and that's going to be a problem for Bethune. Let's hope they make a lot of money.
Yeah. You look for stuff like that. Grambling and Hampton, when they got their thing together, they're playing in a soccer stadium for the New York Red Bulls. It's over in Harrison, New Jersey, in the Brick City HBCU Kickoff Classic. I did not know Harrison, New Jersey was called the Brick City, but evidently it is.
Now you know.
Not.
More you know.
I didn't either.
I didn't either.
But that's, there used to be an opening week classic in the SWAC, but Alcorn's playing in Southern. But Alcorn would usually start this season in Shreveport against Grambling in the Red River Classic. That was one that was like an annual deal. But it's like it's good to see some of these games. One game that stood out for me, and for totally different reasons, the SIAC game, where Edward Waters is in the SIAC. They're hosting Florida Memorial, maybe, because this game was in Jacksonville, and who knows what the Storm's going to do the next couple of days to impact that. But Edward Waters, I understand that gunman that killed those 3 people, the Dollar General. Yeah. He put on his tactical gear and all that stuff sitting outside of Edward Waters. So you think that he probably could have done a whole lot more than murder 3 people with an HBCU there with kids just coming back to school. But going over to Dollar General. So I know Edward Waters, they had a press conference there with the governor about monies they're going to spend to upgrade security around there and that kind of thing. But you think about what those kids are going through this week, thinking they're part of a really negative history. That, and on top of them probably having to bug out or shelter in place over the next couple of days with the storm.
And the reason this guy wants to kill Black people, because he hated them, Tree.
Yeah.
The hatred that is being spewed by some of our elected officials, the former president. I mean, it is dangerous.
I mean, it's dangerous wherever you go. And you think about also Carolina, where a graduate student shot a professor. They said they knew each other. So, I mean, it's like that was the very first day of school.
Right.
And so I don't think anyone is immune for it, but I would think that HBCU should be, on high alert as far as security. When I worked at one, we made sure that we strengthen security and making sure that, we start asking for ID, and maybe that's what Edward Waters was doing. I don't know, but I know they said a security guard, saw him and made him leave. And that's why he went to, I guess, then Dollar General. But it's a sad situation. So many, wherever you go.
Absolutely.
But yeah. Absolutely. But the big game will be Sunday.
Yeah, Jackson
NFL
State
Network.
No, I think you're talking about Jackson State Fan. The Orange Blossom Classic is one.
And look, folks, Tim does the notes for our show.
Yeah.
And Tim writes on his notes random college versus Morehouse. I'm putting 50 on the random college. Virginia Union University.
Morehouse.
But it's so cool, man. 2 division schools are going to get a chance to play on the NFL Network, CIAA, Virginia Union, SIAC, Morehouse. You're a former Morehouse player. Your thoughts on seeing your guys on national TV, Tim?
My thing is this. It's like every time I've seen the Braves play this year on national TV, I mean, they had the best record in baseball. I think 4 to 5 times I saw the Braves play this year, they got mollywopped. And they're the best team in baseball. It's like, I don't like to see my team go out there and get drilled on national TV. Took the family up to New York last year, watched Morehouse play Howard. Quite a spanking. Sitting
Maybe
out
it's you. Is it you, Tim?
It must be me.
Are you the bad luck?
It has to be. They got spanked. And I think that your team is going to be possibly.
Very good.
Huh?
My team, that random school, is very good.
I understand that. My team is just now first-year coach and reloading with a lot of new talent. So it's probably going to be a very predictable outcome. I just wish we were all three there to partake, but I had to make some hard decisions. But I look forward to seeing it, just watching it, because what they're going to do is for filler, and it's going to seem like they're trying to educate people as to who these schools are and who the alumni are, just as they did with the game Saturday night when they egregiously misspelled Stacey Abrams' name. Speaking of Spelman alums, so
Who did?
ESPN did. They spelled it Stacy Abrams. It's Stacey Abrams. It's like, and of course we
Every
can't.
doll maker knows that.
Yeah,
Every doll maker knows.
Doll maker knows that one.
Hey,
Like,
but you know what?
everybody freeze.
I'm not frozen.
Don't say this. Everybody freeze.
We're just waiting for Ricky to come back to us. Come back.
He was about to talk to you, Tree.
Well, I know. Well, when he comes back, he can continue. But
Yeah.
out of all these games, what are you looking forward to the most?
Actually, I really want to see
Random school.
No, I want to see the random school, but I would love to see Alcorn and Southern Miss. I like to see that because I think that's like a neighborhood thing. A lot of kids from that part of Mississippi, they don't stray too far. I think a lot of kids from both teams will know each other, and it'll be like a family thing, irrespective of the level of talent. But Ricky, you're about to say something, and I thought tonight the camera that we had the problem with would be yours, Tree.
I know, right? It's always me. It's always me.
I thought for sure that the wind and rain and stuff would be messing you up.
There's no rain, no wind here. But I'm good tonight, maybe because I'm in a different location within my home. But so far, so good. So don't jinx me like
don't jinx.
Like you do the football teams. So maybe he'll come on back. Any other games?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like to see the SWAC teams play up. Bethune and Memphis is going to be a good one. I like to see how these different games on. I will be glued to the set with like some sort of like multi-screen showing like what we have here. I'll be doing one of those numbers for the games on Saturday, because one game, the games is not on here. We can still talk college football. Going past the HBCUs is down where Colorado State. Colorado has their game. I think it's at noon or 2:00 on Saturday, and that's Deion's first game as head coach. And I don't see how you can miss it, because it's been every commercial on Fox is playing Too Legit to Quit and showing him playing for the Falcons and everything. People want him to fail.
They know how to milk it, man.
Oh my gosh, it's as if that he's playing, and it's immaterial that wearing that cowboy hat and all this other stuff. He had a quote to some reporter, I think, or someone this past week, and I'm like, that is really Deion in a nutshell. He says, "Don't let my confidence interfere with your insecurities." And
I like that.
I like that.
He said, and then the dude's like, people came up close to me and said, what's that you're wearing? What you wearing? He says, I don't own Dolce. I don't own cologne. What you smell is confidence.
Ooh.
Like,
I'm going to start using that.
Kind of stuff like that makes you want to see somebody get beat down. But you know what? If you can back it up, you can back it up, more power to you. But he was really on a roll on that interview. So it'll be good to see that.
He's got some comebacks, good comebacks.
Oh yeah, he was loaded for bear. I think the end of the commercial where he's talking to his players, he leaned back and said, "Where's my theme music?" My goodness. A coach with his own theme music. It's like, well, I'm going to get you, sucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have your own theme music?
Hero has his own theme music.
You don't have your own theme music?
Well, no.
Yeah.
Again,
Ricky, you're
first of all, I want to apologize for my in and out. I'm on the road here and a new site. But hey, I want to go back to you guys were talking about Dion when I was rudely interrupted and left, and I was going to say, going back to that Morehouse Virginia Union game. Tree, there's nowhere in the world those two teams are on TV without Deion Sanders' stay at Jackson State.
oh yeah. I
His
I
his
think
impact there
yeah,
is that
absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. He brought a lot of attention to the university, to the school, and so I think that I'm glad that even though he's left, that they're still, you know, in play as far as people interested in watching them play. So, I hope they're successful without him there as well. But I also hope Dion's successful in Colorado.
Well, they got a
Um,
big task ahead. They're playing TCU, which made it the national championship game last year.
mhm.
Only to get drilled like 65-7 or whatever it was they did. But yeah, he's got a big task ahead of him. A lot of people want to see him fail. I've heard this past week because of how he came in there, pretty much jettisoned the entire football team.
That's what I'm curious to see how they do with that.
Yeah.
Everybody jumped on the transfer portal, right? So
Or he made him go. He's like, look at the kid saying, y'all can't play for me, or you're not good enough, or whatever.
you don't
So-
have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here.
Exactly. Exactly. So they got TCU on Saturday.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a full slate of games. There aren't going to be a lot of good ones because they're going to be like these money games. I think Georgia's playing somebody like I think they're playing Lowe's Scenic Highway this week at 6:00. The game is so bad it's going to be on the SEC network. It's not going to be on the major ESPN or anybody.
I wish I could be in Winston. So I don't know where they're playing the Winston-Salem NC Central game. Where's that? Do you know?
Oh, we can find that out.
But the following week I'll be going to Winston, and but I'll be watching the North Carolina A&T NC Central game. So I'll be there for that.
Is that in Charlotte?
It's in Greensboro.
Greensboro.
So it's the pre-homecoming before the actual homecoming.
Right.
Hey guys, Jim Harbaugh over in Ann Arbor is going to be sitting out the first 3 games of the year. Michigan is self-imposing discipline on Coach Harbaugh and offensive coordinator Coach Moore for their opening 3 games. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive without them because they play East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about right there. Right there is what I'm talking about.
I mean,
they know good and well they can beat those people with me and you coming up there right now and rolling the ball out there on the field.
right.
They know that. These coaches who are disciplining these players for the first 3 games of the season or whatever, knowing good and well, we can beat Slippery Rock without you. We need you when we play Tennessee.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Tim? You could be the head coach. Tree, you could call offense. I'll run the defense.
Hey, I do what all head coaches do. All head coaches do is say, kick it. That's all they do. Okay.
They don't want me out there.
Tree would be running double reverses on every play.
They would say, "What the heck is she doing?
So
Why is she here?"
But he said something interesting also. And he said players should be paid just straight up. Let's forget the nonsense now. Just pay them.
That won't be fair. Because, again, you have these deep-pocketed programs will take advantage of that. Alabama, they're not doing it to the level of other schools. Like A&M has deeper pockets right now. And Saban has, looked over at Jimbo and said, look what they're doing.
Mm.
The schools with the most money are going to win. Georgia's going to win because they got folks throwing money left and right in the program. You have back-to-back national championships. People want to be associated with that by just having you having one of your checks endorsed by the school. So I mean they're expanding the stadium. They get new facilities with all kinds of stuff that are going on there. Everybody wants to be with a winner. People not throwing no checks around in Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, really, yeah.
I mean, they're remodeling their stadium down. I think is what they're doing. They're taking
Who
seats
is?
out of Vanderbilt.
But he, he's talking about you see, Tree, you got these super conferences. UCLA and USC is going to be in the Big Ten. I mean, let's just cut the nonsense out about NIL and the student athlete and just make this a professional sport.
I don't think that's going to happen, though.
No, it's not. They're never going to go that far, but these kids are going to get more and more money.
Yeah, they probably get more money than if they were just to pay them, if they're that caliber of a player, right?
What is Caleb Williams' NIL deal at USC? I'm gonna see if I can look at it. I just saw him in a Dr. Pepper commercial the other day.
Well, see, my thing is I'm looking at you talking about the super conferences, and I was trying to see if there's an update because of the shooting in North Carolina. The vote yesterday to expand the ACC by 3 more schools. They want to take in Stanford, University of California, and this is a new one on me, SMU. So they were going to vote yesterday, but the shooting, they postponed it. And I understand that they're being accepted is losing momentum. As of today, I thought it was almost a done deal. But that is just insane. The Atlantic Coast Conference has a team whose campus is 15 miles from the Pacific.
I know.
So, I don't get that. 2 California teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They got to really start thinking about some renaming some of these conferences.
True, but you said you don't get it. Isn't it all about money?
It is. You can't call it the Coast to Coast Money Conference. They got to find something a little bit more creative. We getting SEC. We getting paid conference. We gotta find something that has a regional feel to it.
I always say follow the money, right?
Yep, follow the money.
Yeah, maybe they'll change the name, but yeah, I love the old ACC.
Oh yeah.
Team. So I mean that's
Tobacco Road all the way. Right now, she's like the direct.
Kind of what drew me to North Carolina.
Pardon me?
That's kind of what drew me to North Carolina. Watching those teams. Why I ended up going to school there.
Oh,
but you know what? It is just a totally different game. I can't imagine what's it going to be 20 years from now. When you look at NIL, when you look at the power conferences, when you look at the transfer portal, and at some point this stuff has to max out. I mean, I don't know if it was you guys I was talking to about the transfer portal, but for NCAA basketball, 45% of the guys who enter the portal are without a school now.
Yeah.
How many?
45%. That's nearly 5 out of 10 players who transfer end up without a school, and they bounce back to JUCOs or go down to Division II or NAIA. So this will come to a head at some point.
Well, you would think it already has, because I'm thinking this year's college playoff format is the last year they're going to have that. They're supposed to go to 16 teams, right? And then when that rolls around, there was with the idea that you would have a Power 5. There won't be a Power 5. How are you going to get 16 teams? You could have 10 of them come from the SEC. and then lock out some of these other schools. I don't know how they're going to do that formula now because everybody's so greedy to do these conferences that they're going to dilute the playoffs in and of themselves. And some really good teams will probably get knocked off in conference before they can even get to the playoffs.
So if you ruled the world, both of you, how would you set it up? What would you do?
I'm an old man. I'm old.
I rule the world.
I have those conferences. Everybody go back to your corners. Southwest Conference, there will be another Southwest Conference. There'll be the Pac-10, SEC, Missouri. You got to go over to the Big 12 or wherever you came from before with Oklahoma and Nebraska, because that's where they used to play. In Colorado, that was a conference.
So you don't want things to evolve. You want things to stay the way they were back in your day.
I want it to be regional. I want it to be where, to where people care. Because now on these on Saturday night, that last game, every last game on Saturday night cannot be, San Jose State at Hawaii. There will be no really good games on in the West Coast because they'll all be playing back east. There'll be no 10 o'clock games. You'll be stuck with something like, Long Beach State versus Pepperdine.
Yeah. Well, and I definitely feel you, but I'm only in bed by 9:30, so it's up on.
Wait, are we keeping you up then?
Yes.
It's so nice.
Is that what you're doing? Nodding? I'm sorry. It wasn't freezing. You were taking naps.
But it is
my fault.
It really is. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens. And it's not just because when you do this with football, you got to bring everything else with you too, or maybe not. Maybe they're going to just break this off.
Because what does Notre Dame do? Independents have the hookup. Notre Dame can play in football in the ACC and basketball ACC and do whatever they want in other stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's how that works. They do it. But we want to get to the rule change. But before we do, we only got like 10 minutes left to try to get in these other things before we go into the rules.
I would like to get with this thing that happened with Ronald Acuda.
Yeah, that should never have happened. And, I understand that people can, it's legal to get blunted up in Colorado. But the security guard should not be partaking because those cats were slow on the take here with these fans coming out there and hugging Acuna, and then one comes and knocks him down.
I mean, just think if
they meant him
harm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that too. I mean, I don't even understand if no matter how much you love a player that you would just decide, hey, I'm just going to go out there. And I guess, they didn't anticipate that, or maybe they should have anticipated. We don't know. We're not there. But, it seems so odd. Tim is picking at me because I always try to see the other side. So. Because you don't know. You just blame the security guards. They should have been there faster. I get that.
Those security guards again. Number one, look like they might want to get a few salads, mix it in. They're kind of slow.
That's their job, first of all, security. So I get that. So they should be on point. Yeah.
But that you got to be on alert nowadays because of the society we're living in. But I want to just play this. This is Acuna talking about what happened, after the game. Come on now.
He didn't want to talk about it.
Come on with it.
No pasó, los fanáticos, yo creo que me están pidiendo una foto, pero yo creo que la seguridad llegó y ya, pero todo está muy bien.
I was a little scared at first, but I think the fans were out there and asking for a picture, but And I think everything's okay. Everyone's okay.
The one guy seemed subdued. Was the other guy just kind of acting crazy? The first guy seemed like he just wanted a picture. Was the other guy kind of acting crazy?
Sí, el segundo, eran tres, uno chiquitico yo creo que lo vi, pero el segundo también me estaba preguntando por si nos podía tomar una foto y yo le dije o sea, no le dije nada porque el seguridad llegó, pero yo espero que se encuentren bien ahorita en este momento.
I think there were 3 of them. I saw someone else somewhere. But anyways, the second guy, he was asking for a picture too, and I couldn't say anything to him because at that point, security was already there, and we were already kind of tangled up.
But what you didn't hear, I think, at the end of that clip was he helps everybody, hope they're okay. He said everything's okay, right? And I hope they're okay.
He seems to be just a terrific guy.
Yeah.
Tim, an incredible player.
Oh, absolutely. He's having he's only one of 7 players to have, I think, 30 home runs. I don't think it's 30 home runs, but 25 home runs and 60 stolen bases.
30 and 60.
30 and
He's
60.
working on it.
So he's working on 50-50 essentially. I don't think he's going to get 20 home runs in the next month of the season, but that would have been something else to see. He would be one of the first 50-50 dudes. He could be 40-40. He just needs to get 10 more home runs to do that. And I don't know who's ever done that. He had a big game last night. He had 3 hits. He had a double. He had a bases clearing double, a couple of hits. He's one of the best players in the league, to say the least. It's he and his former teammate Freddie Freeman and another Dodger, Mookie Betts, the 3 guys who are leading the race for MVP in the National League.
This guy, I was not fortunate enough to see Willie Mays in his prime, but this is what I think Willie Mays would have been like. Freaking devastating, but people don't really know about this guy, and I think it's because he doesn't speak English.
Right. It's the same with Ohtani. Ohtani's got a commercial. I think he would have a lot more if he spoke English. And, you just don't know that until you come up against these guys and you see that he's speaking fluent Japanese and that they understand English but can't speak it. I know it has to be kind of frustrating along those lines. But they're 2 of the best. It's a bad break for Ohtani. He tore a muscle in his elbow, and he's not going to pitch the rest of the year, but he's still going to hit.
Yeah. So
interesting.
I mean,
but I think it's 5, right? That might be when he'll be able to pitch again, right? 2025, you think?
Right. Yeah.
but it's too bad for baseball too.
Oh, absolutely. But this thing today, the Angels, what they did, they got a bunch of players at the trading deadline thinking they were going to be in a run for this last playoff spot, which is why they didn't trade Ohtani. Well, they're 11 and a half games back of the last playoff spot right now. And they put like 6 players or 5 players that they acquired at the trade deadline, put them all on waivers today to save salary. Means whoever picks them up gets them for free is what the deal is. So that's baseball is really weird in that regard. One more thing before we get out of here. We got like a couple of minutes, but tough love in high school football in Georgia.
Oh, I got the video, man. Close your eyes, everybody, because this is just awful.
It's not hate speech. It's not hate speech. Pay attention, son.
There it is.
Boom.
Gut punch. Just doubled over.
Right. And see, that's my child. Coach be in the cell next to me. Because I'd have pressed charges and beat him down.
Did I read he's not what do they call him? He's not a staff person, but what's the phrase that they use? I forgot.
Graduate assistant type thing? Not a graduate assistant, but an assistant coach?
No, he's not even part of the administration. I forgot what the term is when I looked up, but he's not an employee. per se of the school or in the
He's like a
coaching.
volunteer.
Yes, yeah, thinking more of a volunteer. So
Wow.
I don't know where they got him, but I don't think he'll be back.
That was too much.
Yeah, I think that if you were, yeah, again, I don't know what his background is, but I would think if you were a staff person, you would know not to do that. But back in the day, Tim, did you experience that or see that experience that was not caught on tape?
All the time, all the time. It was to get the player's attention, and
Yeah.
a lot of times you did. Sometimes people would go to extremes. None of my coaches ever went to the extreme. You see other things where kids were punished to the point of physical exhaustion, and they suffered consequences of that. Even death, making them run and stuff. Or a kid will say, "I don't feel well after doing a run," and the coach just thinks the kid's just trying to get out of doing it. Next thing you know, he's keeled over and he's gone. So you have to know your players. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be humane in terms of being a coach. It's a game.
But that coach got arrested, though, right?
Tim just said you have to know your players. I would love to know the relationship between that coach and that player. The body of work between that coach and that player. The time spent with that coach and that player. If it was like back in the day, that would have been nothing.
And see, and we're guilty, and I'm guilty because I suggested this clip. But there was a clip out of Hoover, I think not Hoover, but I think over in Alabama.
The coach's son.
The coach's son. The coach threw his headset and hit his son who was playing for him on the sidelines. Yeah. Now, does he get arrested for hitting his kid with the headset?
And you know what he said? He said, "He's mine. I'll do what I want to do."
Okay. So I mean, there's a different dynamic right there.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I found the term. It's called a lay coach.
Lay coach. That means he's not a real coach. He's just laying around. No, I don't know.
I know. It's like I never heard that term, a lay coach.
Tim, that and Tree, as you guys know, there are coaches who are making sure these guys get to school, picking them up, making sure they're getting to school, making sure they get in the class, probably feeding him. I'm not saying in this situation, but those are how deep, especially in our community, those relationships can go. And he sees you doing something, he pissed off. He is almost like a father figure to you. But of course, you always got the blind side, and too bad you don't have time to get
somebody taking advantage of you for millions of dollars or so.
Hey, you talk about the blind side, right?
He wasn't blindsided. He got sucker punched. The Sucker Punch is the name of that movie. But I had my older brother was a basketball coach in an inner city school, middle school, and I went to one of his practices, and there were words he used to those kids that I never thought to use in my adulthood or ever would. And when he had given him a water break, I walked out to him at center court, and I said, "You will never coach or touch any of my children," because he said that he said, "Hey, I'm talking to them like they are talked to at their house. I know these families, I know these kids, I know their background. I'm not saying anything to them they don't hear all the time, every day." And they won the championship that year in basketball. But I'm thinking that method, I was like, "No, sir." I said, I was clutching my pearls. I'd never heard such words. But I was thinking about his mouth as a child.
I mean, this is a conversation. We're running out of time tonight, but we need to explore this a little more as the season goes on. Because surely this won't be the last time.
No,
we're going to hear and read about this. But we got to get out of here for now. I want to thank my co-hosts, Tree McDougal and Tim Turner. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we're going to have a new time, 9:30 this fall going on. So I'm out of here, guys.
All right. Be kind, everybody. Be safe.